My name's Patrick Richard Conlon, Marine Corps. I got out, I was Lance Corporal.
Did you choose to go in, or were you drafted?
No, I volunteered, enlisted, to get out of the house. I joined the Marine Corps. And then I volunteered to go to Vietnam on top of that. So they didn't make me go, I volunteered, yeah. So.
What made you choose Marine Corps?
I walked down the field where high school I was going to, and you went out this back gate where me and some of my friends, we lived down that way. Well, there was a building there, like a strip mall almost. And one was Army, one was Navy, one was Marine Corps, and the other one might have been Air Force, okay? So me and a buddy of mine, we stopped in each one of them, right? And most of them were 4 years. So I just went in the Marine Corps one to talk to them, and they said, yeah, you can join for 2 years, and then you can re-up. And he says, if you join for 4, you're kind of stuck for 4 years. He said, you join for 2, and you decide you like it, they'll even give you re-up pay, for re-upping. I forget what the amount was. So I joined for 2. And so that's how I joined the Marine Corps. I mean, I always liked the Marine Corps, and I had a brother-in-law that was in the Marine Corps, and things that I kind of read back then. I'm 17 years old, so just things I heard and things he told me. I said, yeah, the Marine Corps, way to go. And plus the shorter time, in case I didn't like it, is why I joined the Marine Corps, yeah.
So did you have to get special permission at that time, or did you wait until you were 18?
No, I was a few months shy of my 18th birthday, so I was living then with my mother and my stepfather. And I don't think both of them had to, but I know my mother did. Literally had to sign because I was under 18, and they would take you in as long as, the best I could understand it, clear back then, was I'd turn 18 in boot camp. See, so they got you in there. You're not going nowhere, and so at 17, you can't just go off and go goofing around. You're in there. Long story, but so that's how we did it. My mom signed. I went in. I had my 18th birthday just after I got out of boot camp. Yeah.
So, how was Marine boot camp?
Where do you want me to start? Well, I rode a Greyhound bus with a bunch of other guys, and all the smokers, I just kind of started smoking then, Didn't smoke a lot, but I did. And so as we're rifling off of that bus, the bus driver goes, you might as well leave your cigarettes with me, he says, 'cause you ain't smoking here, So everybody, he had a pile of and you get the DIs right there screaming and hollering. You had all these footprints to get on, and you're standing there. And I forget, just a bunch of stuff he's telling you, And each row, we was almost like a squad, these footprints. And first thing you did was walk in this one building, and they just cut all your hair off. So you were like bald-headed, all of us. I didn't really have that long hair then, but some of them did. One guy, I can remember, a blonde-haired guy, hair plumb down past his shoulders. He walked out of there, he was bald as a bald eagle. And then from there you went and they started giving you your clothes, your issue, all that. And then they put us up in some big-ass tent. I'm sorry for the... and we... on these cots, for the night. And about 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and back then I was a hard sleeper. So anyhow, I vaguely remember him banging this bucket, waking everybody up. Sun ain't even come up yet. All these guys are 18, 19, Well, I guess I was the last guy to wake up because he literally come over and kicked my cot and dumped me on the floor. That was my first day in boot camp. And then got us all, took us to breakfast, you know. And then we went to our Quonset huts, and that's where one of them, somewhere in there, they give you this foot locker you're going to have. And I can remember all of us, you know, they get this foot locker, all your clothing they give you is in there, okay? You'd already changed out of your civilian clothes that first day. Mail that stuff off. So anyhow, so now we're packing these foot lockers. The foot locker itself ain't real heavy, maybe, who knows, 7, 8 pounds or something. But with all this stuff they give you, it's pretty heavy. And we're all marching along to go to these Quonset huts we're going to live in, right? And people are dropping them boxes, and me too, you know, and they're heavy as hell. And so, make a long story short on that, is after, I'm going to say maybe a couple of months, they move us out of them Quonset huts into what they called the hotels, okay? It's like a big building, not these little Quonset hut things. And so all our stuff's back in that foot locker, and that's where you keep it all anyway. So after a couple of months of running and push-ups and doing all kinds, he just picked that foot locker up and walked over there with it. I said, damn, you know. So,
that was going to be my other question. Did you feel like you were strong when you went in? Were you prepared for any of that?
hell no. No, you know, 17-year-old kid, I didn't do nothing, you know. And, yeah, but they run you, what we called a good day was a 4-mile run, okay? On a bad day was a 6-mile run. But we run damn near every day at least 4 miles, every day. I mean, almost day one. Yeah. They got you in shape whether you liked it or not. Yeah.
And then, did you say the other friends had joined with you too?
Yeah, that's another long story. My cousin and our best friend, you know, like the three of us. Ends up, my cousin never even bothered enlisting. And the other guy, he enlisted in the Army, okay? And then, you know, being separated, you know, so far and long, and every now and then I'd get a hold of my cousin. And the other guy's name was, it don't matter, I can't remember his name now. It'll come to me. But anyhow, I guess he got in the Army and he just couldn't deal with it. He went AWOL so many times that they finally just discharged him. So out of the three, I was the only one that hung in there, yeah.
Are you still friends with any of the guys that you served with?
Yeah, I was with one of my best friends. It just so happens he wasn't in boot camp or anything with me, but I met him in the Marine Corps. And then, of course, years go by, he ends up working at PD, and end up working in the same shop. And then he got a little burnt out here, so he goes over to Sierra Vista and goes to work on the Army base over there, doing the same mechanic and stuff. So he'd come visit me, or I'd go visit him, you know, for years. And I'm going to say about a year ago now, he passed on. Yeah, he was 73 years old. So, and I was in communications. I was a radio relay operator. So they had to have communications. That whole barracks, that's all we were, was communications, yeah. And then the one next to that's another friend of mine that I went to boot camp with that showed up there about the same time I did. He was a telephone operator, like the old days with the things. Yeah, that's what he did. You know. So yeah, I was communications, and luckily, see, I had 2 MOSs. They were both in communications, 2531 and the 2532, I think, if I'm right. And I think the 31 was where you pack a radio on your back, and the 32 was these radios that were down in the bunkers, okay? And they looked just like a camper, you know, that you'd put on the back of a truck with the door in the back, okay? So when you got in there, both sides were nothing but radios, okay? 12 channels receiving and 12 channels sending, okay? So every hour you had to do channel checks on every one of them. who you talk to, he'd talk to you, so you knew the commute and do the same thing, go in the other direction, okay? And I had it made in there because in the summertime there, it's like, oh hell, at least 100 degrees and probably 100% humidity. So some of my buddies that were doing other things, they'd come into my radio because it's nice and cool in there, about 75 degrees, you know, AC thing going. And so that was my job mainly, and then the only time, because I was a specialist, I had to volunteer to go on patrols, okay? That's when I packed the radio, okay? And okay, by then, you know, I'm 18, pushing 19. Might have already been 19, can't remember exactly, but so you're packing this radio, and well, what I'm getting at is this compound we was on was 1,000 yards by 1,500 yards. That was it. That was your world for a year, okay? Well, at 18 years old, you know, you do anything to get the hell out of there. So I volunteered to go on patrols. And it was a little spooky. But one guy that was leaving when I got there, he told me, he says, don't be leaving that antenna clear the hell up in the air when you're out there in the bush. He says, you fold that thing up where it's about that high off your head. And that probably saved my life because generally they're after, you know, whoever's, you know, a lieutenant or a captain or maybe even a master sergeant or something go on this patrol with you. And I'm right with him because I hardly ever even use that radio. He would, you know, coordinates and stuff. And so that's what they're after, who's in charge and communications. So that's got a little nervous out there.
So in this room that you were in, people weren't communicating with you, but you were making sure that they could communicate with each other?
Right. The big radios, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I know part of my thing was there was a place, it was like it was up there once, it was called Monkey Mountain. And they would contact me, and then I can't remember who the hell, it's been 50 years that I'd contact going the other way. And then he'd contact whoever. I do remember the one Monkey Mountain because it stuck in my head. And it was actually called that, Monkey Mountain, yeah.
So what were your years of service then? When did you go in and when did you get out?
I went in 69 and got out in 71.
So you just served?
I did my 2 years. Yeah.
And you wanted out?
Wanted out, yeah. After Vietnam, I was done, yeah. I would have done a full year in Vietnam, but that's when Nixon was already pulling people out of there before I even got there. But so around 10 months in country, our unit got pulled out. We went to Japan for 2 months, and then I got out, literally out of the Marine Corps.
So is there any of that you learned in the military that you took with you? Did you use the communication skills any other time, anywhere?
Well, yeah, some things, you know, because they instill in you, you know, to follow orders, things like that. Of course, you know, to a point. If some guy tells you to jump off a cliff, you don't do it. But yeah, most of the time, my boss told me to do something, I did it, you know. A friend of my first wife's husband was a manager at a welding school, and I kind of got to know him, see. And so it was a welding school and a testing lab where you tested these guys learning how to weld, you tested their welds, okay? So I got to know him pretty good, like I say, so he got me a job in that testing lab. So I worked in there about a year or so, and the school's right there, just next door, basically. Just a big driveway in between. So I hit him up one time, I said, because it dawned on me, they got a day shift school and a night, you know, like, say, swing shift school. So hell, he says, yeah, if you want to learn how to weld, you know, just work. And so I'd go home. I lived maybe 10 minutes away from this place. So I'd go home for a little while and go back. I forget, it was like an hour or two later after the day shift school was over to the night shift, night school. and just learned how to weld for free. Made a living off that for years, yeah. And then when I got over here, they were short on mechanics in the heavy-duty truck shop. So they put me in the heavy-duty truck shop. I told them, man, I've never even seen one of these huge-ass trucks, let alone work on them. Well, you want to learn them or not, you know? Well, I guess I done quit my job, you know? And so, because I was a welder on the Desert Center. So I thought, well, he said, we'll get you in the boiler shop as soon as we can. Well, I'm still waiting to get in that boiler shop. So I actually learned another trade, mechanicing, yeah. So can't complain, I guess.
What was it like coming home?
Oh, it was pretty good. What kind of bothered me was, well, I got discharged in Treasure Island in San Francisco, okay? My parents still lived in California, down like near LA. So I just grabbed a Greyhound bus, and I forget where I got off at. And then out there they call them RTD. They're the buses that kind of like you see in Tucson, that people are sitting there waiting to get on and go wherever they're going. Got on one of them to, within 4 or 5 blocks of where my parents lived, okay? So I got in the Army, it's a duffel bag. Marine Corps, it's a sea bag, okay? So, same thing. So I'm walking along, you know, and nobody talked to you, nobody says anything to you. And so when I get home, you know, I knock on the door, and my stepbrother answers the door. Hey, Pat, how you doing? You know, he's sitting there watching TV. So I sit down, and my mom's in the kitchen cooking something, you know. She just comes out, gives me a little hug, and goes back and keeps cooking. I'd only been gone a year, and it was like I just been gone for a day or two. Yeah, it was kind of odd. Yeah.
Were you treated poorly in the airport or anything? Did anybody?
No, the plane we flew in on from Japan, it was all military.
Oh, okay. So you didn't have to go through the airport or anything. That's
no.
good. Okay.
And it's been so long now, I can't remember where we landed, but it was military. It got us and took us to where we were going to get discharged. So then once you got discharged, now you're basically on your own, okay? And that's where I got a Greyhound. I don't remember getting messed with there. Where I found it hard was my brother had been back naturally quite a while, and he took me out of, a couple of different bars. I wasn't even old enough to drink yet, even though I'm old enough to go die, but not only. But he knew the people. I'd had a couple beers with my brother, and people in them bars that messed with me, I'd kind of hurt a couple of them a couple of times. But I almost had to wait till my hair grew out, because in the Marine Corps, you keep your hair, you got to keep, you call it high and tight. And so, yeah, you pretty much looking around all the time if somebody's going to mess with you, because if they knew you was in the military, it was sad. Yeah.
How are you treated now if you're wearing your service, if you're wearing a cap or something?
What surprises me is, I don't know when it started, but I'm going to say at least 10 years ago. Like if I'm wearing my military kind of hats, or the wife's got me a couple of jackets for in the winter that say Marine Corps on them, I have people literally thanking me for my service, and it just blows me away, yeah. But man, for I don't know how many years, I don't know, a lot of years, 15, 20 years, people still, had a thing about the military. I don't know why.
Treated like a villain.
Yeah.
So what about the medical?
Oh, I didn't even do through the VA, because I had good insurance with Phelps Dodge and some of the other places I worked. I didn't even think about it, Well, I started having some serious issues, and I forget exactly now who told me to check with the VA. So I did. Well, matter of fact, my wife, her dad had just died a little, maybe just a few months before what I'm going to get at. And so she wanted to go to the VA in Tucson and see about some benefits for him, to get him buried and stuff. So I just drove her down there. She's sitting at a desk with some gal. I'm just sitting in the back a little bit, looking at a magazine. And whoever that gal was said, "Sir, you were in the military?" I said, "Yeah." "Was you in Vietnam?" "Oh," she says, "Did you have one foot in Vietnam?" I said, "I had both feet in Vietnam." She handed me a bunch of papers, said, "Fill these out." Next thing I know, I'm in the VA, got all this medical coverage. I had prostate surgery, hip replacements, all paid for by the
100%.
100%. Didn't pay a dime. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it's real nice. And you wouldn't believe that hospital. It's huge. And the people I met there, good people, good doctors. Yeah,
You feel like you got good care?
Oh, yeah. Excellent care, yeah. No complaints at all.
The Agent Orange, that was in the 60s, wasn't it? So you were there long after that had already been done?
No, the Agent Orange, they were spraying that when I was there. Yeah, that's part. See, I filed a claim with them. Oh, I'm going to say going on 10 years ago. Okay, and they 100% disabled me. Okay, one of it is from Agent Orange. That's the main one, and another one is well, I had tendonitis from all the things over there going off and shit. That started it, and then I had to get a tumor removed out of my lung. That particular type of tumor, they said 99% chance it was from Agent Orange. So they 100%ed me, yeah. So.
Wow.
Yeah, I've told them more than once. They'd ask me, when I'm talking to people at the VA. I said, hell, it was almost a daily thing. You could see them planes way the hell up there with this big old mist coming out the back of them planes, Be 3 or 4 of them just defaulting everything, killing all the plant life. All us guys are down there breathing that junk, yeah.
Just right over the top of you, huh?
Oh, it's quite a ways up, but then it comes down, and you breathe it. Yeah, you can't taste it. I couldn't smell it, but but it was just a particular type of tumor that I had. They know more than they let people know. It wasn't some other goofy tumor. It was most of that Agent Orange. You got a particular type of tumor, and that's what I had. Yeah. So.
What would you tell someone that's considering serving now?
Thinks about serving? Is that what you said? Oh, heck, yeah, some of these questions you don't even think about. I just tell them if they really wanted to join the Marine Corps, just do the best you can and follow orders and stay in shape, because once a year you have to take a physical, not a physical, but a PT test. And if you don't pass that PT test, then I forget what it is now, but back when I was in, it was like every 3 or 4 months you had to do it again until you passed it. Yeah. That was one of the things, was they instilled in you, the laws, their rules. And if you deviated off of that, you were in deep trouble. Yeah. You've got to kind of want it. You got to kind of like it, because there's a lot of rules, a lot of regulations, and but you can be proud of yourself. You're serving your country, and you meet a lot of cool people, people that are, love their country. That's what I liked about it. I'm proud to be a Marine, I really am, yeah. So, and these Army guys will give you a hard time, and all, but they know we were badass.